So we're really talking about ego imbalance, maybe ego expression, and coming to a place of greater authenticity. So before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling as you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, 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 and good morning. I don't know if that is Sue or Dido, but welcome. It's so great to have you here with us this morning. And we're talking about the ego, I guess, or the ego out of balance, right? Um, we all have things that we're good at and things that we're not good at. And recognizing that and acknowledging that without necessarily identifying with it is what we want to talk about today. So, question from EWN: do we need to know where this self-judgment comes from? You know what? I don't think we do. I don't think that where it comes from is as important as what is it. And it could be useful on occasion to know where it comes. Hi, Sue. Welcome. So good to have you with us this morning. Um, it I think it's more significant to be looking at the pattern of self-judgment. Good morning, Jennifer. Welcome. So good to have you with us this morning. I think here's the thing: the judgment, it is a pattern. It's a habit, and we may have been enculturated to that habit in our family, or we may have adopted some of that from society. I don't know that sourcing it is necessarily a way to, I don't know that it gives us inroads necessarily into being able to dissolve that judgment. But when we can recognize the judgments and the patterns, and recognize that it's a habit rather than a truth, then maybe we can start recognizing it when we do it, and it gives us a sense of distance from that pattern, that we don't have to engage with it as if it's fact. So I was speaking with a client yesterday who is very accomplished and who is very guarded about becoming too too much, becoming too overconfident or too uh egocentric, perhaps. And this person holds themselves in check a lot, and the way that they guard against becoming too, in their mind, egocentric is by being self-deprecating is by criticizing and judging themselves. And it's pretty much a deliberate thing to keep themselves in check. And what I think is that self-deprecation, that self-criticism, that self-judgment is just the opposite side of the coin of the bravado and the self-aggrandizement and they're both ego expressions. They're both out of balance ego expressions is really what I'm coming to, because we all need the ego. The ego's gotten a really bad rap because most of what we talk about with the ego is when it's out of balance. So we're either in this I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, or I'm so awful, I don't deserve to breathe kind of thing. But both aspects, it's all about me, right? I don't do this well, or I'm to this, I'm to that, all these self-criticisms, all these self-judgments. It's all about me. Where's the focus? It's all on me. If I'm busy judging myself all the time, what am I looking at? I'm looking at me. What's the difference between that and saying, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, right? Still, it's all about me, right? When what I am maybe formulating, oh, Shosha, welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. It's great to be back with you. So with an ego that's in balance, we all need an ego to be operating in the world, right? We all have some sense of self to be able to function in the world, to be able to communicate, to be able to have interactions with others. That's like this ego identity, right? This expression that is related to our beingness, our unique beingness, right? But what we in most of our conversation about ego, what we're really talking about is an ego that is out of balance. So it's either we have a wounded ego, we're announcing our inadequacies, or we're announcing our exceptionalism, and we attach to that and identify with that. And I think that it's that attachment and identification that makes us be out of balance. I mean, we all have skills, and we all have weaknesses, right? Or areas of inexpertise, shall we say, right? And I can acknowledge that I am strong in certain areas without making that mean that I'm better. Like I'm better in essence, that I'm a better human being somehow because I have these strengths. I can say, you know what, I'm really good at translating concepts, for instance. I'm really good at that. It's not saying I'm really good at that and therefore I'm better, I'm a better human. It's just saying this is something I'm good at. And it's not something that I have to hold on to as an identity necessarily. It's just a facet of whatever, right? There are things, each of us have things that we're really good at. And each of us have things that we're really not good at. And that doesn't make us a lesser person, right? That's one kind of expression of let's be willing to know what we know, right? And that notion of being willing to know what we know goes into many, many avenues in life, whether we're in interactions with other people, whether we're in social contexts, in context with ourselves, being willing to know what we know about ourselves also. But I want to circle back to this self-aggrandizement and self-deprecation, like beating the heck out of ourselves is the same ego, just a flip side of tooting our own horn all the time and trying to, build ourselves up in other people's image of us. They're two sides of the same coin. Why? Because it's all about me, right? I'm this, I'm that, I'm not enough, I'm not smart, I'm not funny, I'm not social, I'm not generous, or I am incredibly intelligent or generous or insightful, or like they're extremes. They're two sides of the same coin. And this was kind of a revelation to me years and years ago, because I was especially deeply self-deprecating and self-critical and judgmental and living in that criticism all the time. And I don't know if it was somebody else who pointed it out to me, or I realized that I was always thinking about me in interactions. It was like, well, what did I say? Did I say the right thing? Did I act the right way? What do they think of me? Am I doing this? Did I serve in the best way that I could? Just it was always self-reflection all the time. And so there's another place to be with all this, and that is, and I have an ego versus I am the ego, that I am all that stuff versus one aspect, one expression of me is the ego. And of course, we're going to be self-referential. Of course we are, because we have this self-experience, right? The world is as we perceive it, because that's all we can possibly know of it, given that we are whatever this compilation of consciousness is that finds itself in these particular bodies, right? Of course, we're going to be self-referential. And there is a way, I believe, I mean, if we feel into it, I think you might be able to feel the distinction of being in it, but not of it. Like, here's this experience that whatever the I is that I say I'm experiencing this is not something that I have to identify with in totality. So Shosha says, would you say self-negation also stems from the ego's program? Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by self-negation. Self-denial. That's a great question. It's one of these, it's sort of a Mobius strip kind of question, I think, where, you can get into this endless interconnected loop. Because when we talk about self, what are we talking about? I think that that's a wonderful question, and I love engaging in that exploration, because at least for me, the more I've looked at what is the self, the more elusive it became, and the more it disappeared as something that had a formation that was in any way static. So I years ago, I was watching it. I was listening to a thing on NPR, and they were asking people, "Who are you?" And that question stuck with me for a really long time. And what I've come up with that seems to work for me as I dig more deeply into this as a practice is that who I am is life expressing itself through this unique vessel. And with that definition, I can I can observe and also be unattached. Like life is expressing itself through me. So all those expressions, all the range of it, you can't you can't do it wrong because it's all an expression of life. So that works for me. And I think that we all have fluctuations in our connection with the ego identification, which is more static. It's like I'm asserting myself, whatever that is. So there, it's a sort of a spectrum, I think. So I'm thinking that this is Dido, maybe. I hear you are saying I have strengths. Each of us has them. When I acknowledge them, I do not mean to be competitive. How can I be gentle with myself and others? So when we acknowledge our strengths, it's not about being competitive at all. It's about being willing to know what's there. You know, it's yes, we have strengths and yes, we have weaknesses. And they may not always forever be our strengths, and they may not always forever be our weaknesses. Those things are in flux. And when I say I'm good at this, it can be from ego identification, like that's who I am, and I am this person who's good at this thing, like that's my identity. Or it can be spoken as if it's a characteristic, like I have brown eyes, I'm good at this, like this is a strength I have, this is a weakness I have. But it doesn't have to be like who I am is my brown eyes, if that makes sense. And then how can I be gentle with myself and others? I think that there gets to be less of an attachment. I notice that, like, if I'm not identified with my point of view, I can be more gentle. I can be more receptive. If I don't think that who I am is what I believe and I'm standing for this and that's who I am in body and being, then there's less capacity for that gentleness, right? But if I just know, okay, I have brown eyes, you know, I have this facility with certain things, then I don't have to be holding it. I don't have to be identifying with it. I don't have to be defined by it. So Shosha says, yes, I wondered if it was a protection against the ego by avoidance of becoming. Protection against the ego by avoidance of becoming. That feels like a koan to me, Shosha, something that takes pondering. I'm not protection against the ego by avoidance of becoming. I'm thinking maybe that comes with the self-negation. You know, thinking about our experience here as spiritual people. I was going to say seekers. I don't necessarily want to use the word seeker, because a seeker is someone who's always in pursuit kind of thing, right? It's not like presence. But as spiritual people, something that has sort of rankled me a little bit, like that kind of gets to me, is that so much of the traditions of the spirit, or moving into spiritual experience, are about denial of our physical experience. We're here, we're physical, we have emotions, we have sensations, we have beliefs, desires, all of this stuff. It's not an accident. Like this physicalness is the vehicle for our awakening. It's not to, and I'm saying this from being somebody for years and years who was like trying to transcend all of it, right? This is part of it. This is a path to our awakening, to allow ourselves to be connected to the physical experience, like to recognize the physical experience, to be able to enjoy it, to recognize the ego, our personalities, to recognize it as all existing and fluid and moving and transforming and changing. It's not to pretend that it doesn't exist or to be in denial of it. There's a path to our awakening that utilizes every bit of it, embraces every bit of it, the wholeness that we are here, the experience of it, the drama of it, the contrast of it, the pain and the agony and the ecstasy. That all of this is part of our awakening. It's not to pretend that it doesn't exist. And there's more. It's not a this or that. It's not like, let's wipe this out so that we can get there. It's more like, let's expand into all of it. So I know I've shared this many times, but, we're taught, let go, let go, let go. And as Westerners, my vantage point on this is we're acquisition related. We are oriented toward acquiring stuff. So letting everything go is really counter our culture. So instead of letting it go, how about expanding to include it? Expanding to include it. And as I include my ego, and as I include my reactivity and my beliefs and my emotions and my physicality and my ability to be non-reactive and all of that, and then expand that, all of this physical experience, expand that into the transcendent experiences that we also have the ability to access, not one canceling the other, but enhancing and expanding and elevating the other, which then is no longer the other. As we embrace it all, as we love it all. What if we loved it all? Still brings me to tears. What if we loved it all? And allowed for it all. That's how, it's certainly one way that we can step into oneness and unity and wholeness. Yeah, I think that's it for today. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is such a gift to be able to be here with you and share these morning musings on what it is to be human. So until next time.